In the tradition of all great sports car manufacturers, TVR has a strong racing heritage that goes back to the production of the first TVR intended for competition use. With constant development for competition, the Grand Tourers of the 60s were campaigned in the major rally and racing events, both in the UK and in Europe. With the advent of the M-Series cars of the 70s, TVR's success on the racetrack was demonstrated by the 3000 Ms, culminating in TVR carrying off the 1980 Prod Sports Championship with 22 outright race wins. The M-Series story ended here in triumph, and development of the Tasman convertible led the TVR race campaign into the 80s. TVR continued its policy of development on the racetrack, where the 280, 350 and 390 Tasmans were campaigned in various sports car championships with considerable success. In 1986, the racing version of the 420 SEAC made its debut, and with unrivaled power and performance, proved to be a major headache for the competition. The 420 quickly became a victim of its own success and was eventually banned from competition by the governing bodies, as it was claimed not to meet the requirements of the homologation rule. Not to be denied their rightful place in the upper echelons of the racing fraternity, TVR introduced a racing version of the S road car, which was destined to compete in the only class left for TVR, which was the modified sports category. Powered by a special version of the Ford Cosworth turbo engine, the S racing car proved its pace on the track and maintained TVR's dominance on the racing circuits of the world. Having competed successfully in most sports car racing classes, the opportunity to satisfy the insatiable appetite for keen competition diminished, leaving few choices for the forthcoming 1989 racing season. This dilemma was resolved in the form of the most exciting one-make series to run on British race circuits, the TVR Tuscan Challenge. After many painstaking months of dedicated research and development, the TVR Tuscan race car was unveiled amid a blaze of publicity at the 1988 Birmingham Motor Show. Having captured the imagination of press and public alike, the development of the prototype Tuscan began its rigorous testing program in early January 1989. On a cold, deserted test track in the heart of Lancashire, the prototype was pounded relentlessly around the bumps and corrugations of the unforgiving surfaces. With the project well in hand, the time had come for the Tuscan Challenge to be presented to the racing teams, the press and the sponsors. On the 29th of January, the official briefing for the forthcoming season was held at the Penguin Hotel in Leyland.
To the end of the year. TVR, a lot of you know, have been involved in racing sports cars the last few seasons. We've developed a variety of models from the race cars, and we decided this year for the maximum exposure.
Originally conceived as a fast road-going series, the TVR Tuscan had rapidly evolved into a full-blown race car with a powerful 4.5-litre V8 engine built to the highest specification and complemented by a chassis, suspension and powertrain engineered to the highest standards. To ensure that the racing was to be close and exciting, TVR formed the regulations for the series tightly, such that only limited modifications to cater for the driver's style were permitted.
The basic reason behind tonight is the regulations. Those were the leaflets that was on the seat as you walked in tonight. The forms that you picked in coming through the door, one per team.
The stringent regulations were to make certain that the Tuscan Challenge would be keenly contested.
We'll go to the
The emphasis being on the quality of the driver and not on the relative wealth of the individual racing teams.
15th to 24th of March.
Having been thoroughly briefed on the forthcoming Tuscan Challenge season, organisers, competitors and the press were given the opportunity to express their opinions, both to the assembled audience and to the camera.
We as a club are very excited with the prospect of getting back into sports cars, although BRSCC actually stands for the British Racing and Sports Car Club. Sports cars have, from our point of view, been tended to be older and not the one-make series type of thing. This TVR Tuscan Challenge is a very exciting prospect from our point of view, and certainly within our membership they are looking forward to 1989 to see some very exciting and very close racing.
The cars themselves have been built to be reliable. They certainly last all the races without any problem. The problem is going to be, as I see it, from accident damage. As I say, from a one-make championship point of view, no other manufacturer has ever come up with cars so powerful and so light running on British circuits.
Basically, my responsibility, I think, is going to be to make sure that all the vehicles are going to be where they should be, all the mechanics are there, the right entry forms have been put in, and our particular drivers have got everything that they need for the day. If they get a bad hotel, it's down to me. The mechanics aren't where they should be, that's down to me. If the cars don't run right, I'm not responsible.
We've always had a good relationship with TVR. It's the sort of car we like to feature. And when we heard about the challenge, Noel and I talked, and with Peter Drawn, our editor, and we thought it would be exciting to become involved. And we hatched the idea of running a car belonging to the factory, which Fastlane would adopt, and run a variety of drivers, either a celebrity of our choice, someone like Damon Hill or David Hunt, Formula 3000 drivers who've done articles for us in the past, members of staff, or myself.
Thrown in at the deep end, really. Obviously, because we, very much involved with TVR, we had to sort of stage a driver in the challenge, and we've got Steve Fitzsimmons, ex-Formula 2000 driver, driving for us, and sort of everything snowballed from there. We've had 2 or 3 other drivers approach us to prepare their cars for them. We've just shelled out on one new transport, which is going to be purpose-built for carrying the race cars that we are preparing, with a sleeper cab on and everything, so it's going to look really professional. But that's the amount of effort we're putting into it. Let's hope we get some reward back for it.
I've been racing 25, 30 years or so, and it's nice to be still racing and meeting new people. Looking forward to it. The car's going to be super. It's going to be a fabulous spectacle, I think. And we're doing it for fun. It's great. I'm really looking forward to it. As long as everybody remembers it's fun, nothing else.
Meanwhile, back at the factory, all TVR had to do now was to confront the awesome task of producing 35 highly complex race cars by the beginning of the racing season.
We did a bit of racing last year, and I'm looking forward to this year. We're running 2 cars from the factory, so it's going to be good competition. The drivers are going to be leaning on each other. There's going to be a lot of close racing. It's going to be well worth it. We're on 11 races, or 12 hopefully, split up fairly even through the year, so when we get down to it, it's going to be who's got the quickest car, and we'll see what happens. I think there's going to be about 5 at the top end who are going to be close. We'll see what we can do from here. We're under no real authority, and they're all working 8 till 8, so yeah, they're pulling the weight, it's good. It's going to be a lot of work, but I reckon the TVR Tuscan Challenge will be worth it. It's going to be good racing.
And so, during the next 2.5 months, the dedicated Tuscan Challenge factory race team worked 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, fueled by a diet of Sonatogen and takeaways, with the sole purpose of giving life to what was to become another landmark in TVR's racing history. During the last 4 weeks in April, most competitors were able to collect their cars, and, after an all-too-brief acquaintance, assembled at Oulton Park for the official TVR Tuscan test day. Teething problems abounded, and, coupled with the fact that many key TVR personnel had had little sleep for several days, how had events progressed during the last 48 hours?
Rush, build Tommy the Tuscan. We worked until 3 o'clock last night, and then the night before we were working until 4:30 in the morning. It's just been all go, absolutely all go. We're building to expectation. We're building to our engine supply. The guy who's supplying our engines, he has to build them slowly and build them right. That's the way he's building them. It's the only way to go. Anybody who goes out now and starts kicking stopwatches is wasting their time. They're probably doing more damage than good. You just got to run them in gently and get the feel of the thing, especially with the amount of wet tyres we have. If it starts to rain and anybody goes out, they're out for skating practice, not racing practice.
We got our car on Monday, it's now Thursday, so obviously our mechanics have been working on it flat out, night and day. I've just done my first 3 laps in the car, and the car is fabulous. I'm really excited about it. It's very, very powerful, very light. Yes, it's going to take a few by surprise. I mean, they are shatteringly quick, that's all I can say. There's a very broad spread of power right through the whole of the rev range, so whenever you put your foot on the accelerator, something happens, and it's a tremendous feeling. Listen to this now, it's gorgeous.
For many of the Tuscan drivers, this was their first experience of driving a high-performance racing car on an official racing circuit, and consequently their apprehension was present on the day, both for the challenge ahead and its financial commitment.
I'd love to have a sponsor, but I just haven't found one for various reasons. And I just love the car and decided I'd buy one. People have clubbed together to buy a car. I've fortunately managed to buy this myself, but there are a lot of people who do have sponsorship. Many of the TVR dealers have bought cars or are running cars on behalf of other people, and who obviously have brought trade sponsorship with them. It's very expensive to buy the car. At the end of the season I may be forced to sell it just to get some of my money back, but if I can hang on to it I will, because they've only built 35. So I think apart from the fact that it looks very attractive, the sort of car one would like to hang on to, I think it'll be a very good investment. If I feel the car is it's too risky to go on and I might damage the car, then I might just hang on to it.
Even the well-experienced drivers at the practice day session were slightly concerned about the forthcoming challenge. One of the major concerns was TVR's usual arch-enemy, time. It was against everybody, with the first race looming menacingly on the near horizon. The practice day had gone relatively smoothly, with much work behind the scenes by the small armies of team mechanics when the worst possible news filtered into the pit area. A Tuscan travelling at speed through Druids had spun from the track in dramatic style, suffering extensive damage. But as yet, no news of the driver, Martin Crass.
Come straight across onto the grass, hit the barrier and cleared about 10 foot in the air, turned round and hit the other side of the car. So there's a fair committal about damage done with the car. The complete left-hand side's gone altogether. He didn't know where he was, who he was at first, didn't know what he was driving, didn't even know what circuit he was on when we asked him. Well, he's cleared a hell of a lot of green before he's hit. But of course, with slicks on, you don't slow down on grass. You quicken up if you put your foot on your brake, because it actually slides quicker. So that's what caused him to go in really hard. He's done a considerable amount of damage to the car.
That was very sad. He's a BBC producer, and it's been his lifelong ambition, but he'd never raced before, and I mean, it's, you know, they're very quick to get involved in, if you've got no experience. And I think he just got it wrong coming out of Druids, the double apex, the quick corner around the back, and apparently it flew up in the air and landed on his side. He's okay, he's banged his head and he's concussed, so they whisked him off to hospital. but the car's very badly damaged, but it did stand up to it, so that's encouraging. It's written off all the bodywork and suspension, but the chassis appears to be all in one piece. So, you know, all the safety devices that you build into the car have done their job.
At the end of the day, most of the teams were relatively happy with their preliminary testing. Martin Crass was discharged from hospital and still keen to carry on the challenge regardless. His car proved to all concerned that, in spite of a major crash, the inherent safety aspect of the Tuscan was there, a reassuring fact, especially to the team of designers who toiled relentlessly on this major project. And so, after months of preparation and dedication by a multitude of designers, sponsors, drivers and mechanics, the culmination of years of racing technology acquired by the factory at last came to fruition, and the 1989 TVR Tuscan Challenge was ready to commence.